Hi, welcome to Mic Drop Insights and Lessons from CI Thought Leaders. My name is Gary Cox. I'm your host. I'm also the author of the book, Cultivating Champions of CI, a leader's toolbox for creating a continuous improvement culture. Have I got a treat for you today? I attended LeanCon 2025. It's Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, supported by the Institute of Operational Excellence, or the IOE. And I sat down with one of the keynote speakers. His name is Akinori Hyodo, and he and his business partner, David Fitzpatrick, of Zenkai Improvements, sat with me, and I had a chance to ask the sensei questions that I thought that you would want to know the answers to. I'm really excited to have some amazing guests this morning at LeanCon 2025, CME's LeanCon, and keynote speakers, and Sensei Akinori Hyodo.
Okay.
Close enough?
Close. Yeah. Hyodo. Good enough. Good enough.
Okay. And his interpreter, but also partner in the business called Zenkai Improvement Partners. And David Fitzpatrick is the interpreter. You've got a story of your own. We're going to come back.
Very interesting, though. Yeah.
We're going to come back to you another time. But thank you for being a guest today. So I'm going to start with question number 6 that I've provided to you. And what advice would you give leaders aiming to cultivate a sense of ownership and accountability within their teams?
まずはチームの責任というより、やっぱリーダーというのは長だからね、当然責任はあるわけ。上に立てば。その代わり、プラス、権限、両方合わせ持ってる。だからチームの責任はやっぱ長であるリーダーの責任なんです。これは会社組織でいくとして、会社全体のなんかあれば、そのトップである CEO がね、の責任になっちゃう。
Well, it's very important. It's a great question, and it's very important that anybody who's a leader of a team, they have to realize that they've been given the authority as a leader, but it also comes with the responsibility to make sure that everybody in their team knows that the responsibility lies with them. You know, when something is successful, when something fails, it's the leader who has to, who be responsible for that. And the leader leads by example. And people see that that person is taking the responsibility for the things they've been asked to do. And that becomes their norm too, because they copy that behavior when they're asked to do something. So if the leader's taking responsibility, they become people who do as well.
So branch onto that one, how does Toyota, because you were a former Toyota factory manager, how did you hold your leaders accountable for doing that?
トヨタの中でね、そういう責任をみんな取れるような人材の育成、それどうやってそういう時期に
やっぱその責任取れるというより、役割、役割をまず明確にしていく。一つはね。でもう一つは、人というのはいろいろなタイプがあるからね。会社側がきちっとしないといかんと思うんだけど、違う。例えば、エンジニアタイプをリーダーに持ってくると、本人も死んじゃうし、会社としてもデメリット。だからそこをしっかり会社としてはやる。
Well, 2 points on that. And it's very important that companies become very good at picking out the people who will be the leaders of their company, because not all people are cut out of it. Hyodo Sensei gave the example of maybe putting an engineer as a leader in a manufacturing facility may not be a good idea because they've got the engineering mind more than anything, and they're seeing things a little bit different than the people who are at manufacturing, and that might destroy them. It may lead to some detrimental effect on them because that person is not the best suited for that position. So a company's responsibility to pick the people that lead is very important, and good organizations do that.
I mean, I totally agree. That's critical. In North America, it seems that people who get promoted are those who are really good at what they do, but they may not necessarily be good leaders. So what was Toyota's approach to picking leaders if it wasn't, the up and coming engineer?
Good question. トヨタではね、その人選びどうやってするんですかね。それ人選ぶこれからリーダーになるか。
それはね、一つは やっぱ直属の上司。
いや。
ね。直属の上司が一番よくわかるはず。ね、部下を、じゃあ、例えば10人いればね、10人をどう育てる。その中でやっぱリーダーに育てる人、いろいろいるわけ。で、もう一つは、その上の人がしっかりきちんとした。
So, I mean, it's very important that to become a leader, if you will, inside Toyota, you have to be very good at seeing people's aptitudes, what people are good at, what they're cut out for, and design your training approach to each person, accordingly. It's important that you don't play favorites with people, but you see what people are good at and what people, maybe not so good at. So the leaders are finding the person that's going to take over for them. And for a leader to move up, there has to be somebody coming behind them, right? And the people above them are watching them as leaders to make sure that they're helping to foster the next generation of leaders. So there's two levels of management responsible for the choosing of that person who's coming up. So that's one difference. I think that a lot of companies just leave it to one person.
Right. So is it behaviors or like existing behaviors that is more the focus, or I say competencies that they can grow in?
だから今の行動を見てるか、この人の可能性を見てるか、という適性を見てるか。
だから、今の行動から将来生まれてどうしないかんっていう話を、直属の上司がやる。だから、言い換えればね、家庭でもそうでしょ。自分の子供もそうじゃないですか。
It's the same with family. We talked about this yesterday a little bit, when you're raising your kids, what one is good at, maybe another is not kind of.
Right.
Leaders are looking at, the actions of their people and seeing that their actions and their words match, right? And also that, and seeing where the possibility or the potential this person is and what can they do in terms of training to get that.
Right. It's not on the list, but my question would be is do the leaders ever not succeed? And here's what because when I think about when it sounds to me like the level of accountability, when you decide the leader's not this person, because you don't know if you're a good leader until you're a lead and you're in a position to lead. So how do they handle that?
When they make bad choices, you mean?
Yeah, and I guess
Okay.
we all do. Yeah, do they? I guess it's the question.
たまにね、こういうのある。リーダーを選んでいる人は、リーダーの体質がないというか、やっぱりリーダー格じゃない人は途中で気づいたりとかしますか。
それある。
Of course, yeah, that happens. And your question is, what happens when that happens?
Yeah.
その時どう対応しその時どうします
結局、タイプじゃないっても、最初からね、100% できる人はいない。
There's nobody who can do it from the start every time 100%, so they wait and see.
Okay.
ある程度の期間、いろいろやりながら、どうしてもダメな時は、本人と話し合ったりして、やっぱ外してやる部分も大事かな。
So of course, leaders do get replaced. Leaders will be, they'll be given a period of a chance to train and, get the skills that they're maybe lacking to do that position. And if it works out that, it doesn't improve, there'll be a better position found for them, something where they can contribute. And it's not going to be seen as a demotion. They're going to be pushed, they're going to be asked to take over a new role with different responsibilities that they are confident that person can fulfill.
Oh, that's excellent. So how much of a leader's time is spent with those that they're mentoring and nurturing versus all of the other
things they have to
do within their roles?
Like you mentioned, production specifically.
Exactly, right.
だけどリーダーでね、生産に立ち座ってる時間とかね、育成の時間とか、チームと共有してる時間ってどういうバランスを取ってる？
それはね、会社によっていろいろある。
So it depends on the company within Toyota. It depends on the size of the company.
それと、やはりその本人ね、本人がどう考える。
Yeah, and it's full of Toyota, like any other company, is full of different people with different mindsets, So it depends on their kind of way of doing things too. So it's hard to say there's one definitive answer for that question, but
もう私の考えはね、
in my opinion,
一番会社としては一番チームリーダーというのはね、一番賛成なですごく重要なポイントなの。だからリーダーによって決まると言っても過言じゃないんだけど。じゃあその体制 環境とかどうやるかというと、なんかリーダーが作れるかというとね、まあ作れなくはないんだけど、そんな時間ないわけよ。走り回ってるから。だからそれはね、会社としてね、やっぱ一番いい体制とか、環境とかいうのはやっぱ考えるべきかな。それは会社としていうかその上司だ。ね、上のマネージャーとかいうのはね、自分でいくらでも調整できるじゃん。
違いない。
だからリーダーやったらできないのよ。
So, it depends on the level of the leader, if you will. A lot of times with Toyota, when they talk about leaders, they're not talking about the people up in the offices and the chairs. They're talking with the people on the line that are driving and managing production every day. And they're not in direct production per se. They are overseeing direct production, but they don't have time for training in the, while operations are happening. They've got time for watching and mentoring and coaching a little bit, but training has to happen offline. Operators are operating, so you don't interfere with that. But you're watching, you're taking notes, you're seeing what people are having troubles with, you're making plans to help them with that. The goal is to finish your production at 100% every day, no matter what. And that is their number one job. So their job to train up their teams after that are happening outside of production time. Now, the leaders who are up in the offices and are not affecting production directly at all, they may be coming up with training plans and different things. It depends on the company, the scale of the production, the number of employees. But in the Toyota sense, a leader is a person on the line who guarantees that production gets hit every day. Production numbers, they're there at the end of the day. So those are the leaders they talk about developing more than those people.
Okay.
だから、会社としてね、いいものを効率よく作るために、どういう体制、特に工場サイドの現場への、どういう体制がいいかないうのは、やっぱ考えるべきだと思うし、できてないところが多いね。
So within the Toyota world, I guess, you talk about the Gemba leader more than the company leader or the production unit leader. It's the people who can guarantee that you produce the highest quality product in the correct amount at the correct time, per the customer's orders. That's the people who can help maintain and improve that environment are the people who become the leaders of the company. Right? So they're the frontline leaders. They're the the frontline troops, and the leadership thinking that you hear a lot of Toyota is talking about them. And if they get through that, they've got the baseline skills that bring them up to the organization.
なぜかというとね、会社、企業だから、今言ったいいものを安く作るということでいくとね、安全見ながらよね。で、品質見ながらよね。で、コスト見ながらよね。で、昨日話した育成の話もね。これは大きく見ると、マネージャーもこれやる。リーダーだって自分のテリトリーをこれやらない。そうするとね、マネージャーは自由に使える部下持ってるでしょ。リーダーいる？
Good question. So yeah, it's very interesting. We talked about it a little bit yesterday as well. A leader, say a manager, a line leader or something, has a lot of responsibilities, and among them are ensuring, guaranteeing safety, quality, cost, and also formulating training plans for their employees to make sure that those things always get top priority. If the leaders got people at their disposal who can help them, people between direct operations and themselves, people who are maybe subs to come into the line, people who've come off the line and know every role. They're helping formulate training plans. It's a very interesting team structure inside Toyota, but there's people between them that can help. And if those people aren't used, if they're used properly, maybe you don't even need a leader. Is the question he's formulating. If people know their jobs and are doing it, it goes down to knowing your role and having a clear role. That's something they focus on.
So that's brings me to the next question: is how do you create that mindset in those frontline employees that this is their process, they own it, it's their work. How do you instill that pride of work that we kind of see and felt within Toyota?
Great question. やっぱりその最前線で戦っている人たちのね、やっぱりこの工程、このもの、この商品が我々が作っていくプライドを持たせる、そういうどういう作り方をするんですかね、その意識。我々のこの責任を取る意識。どうやって
まあ特にそういう意味でいくと品質かな。だから、品質でいくと、やっぱ、それと、やっぱ、細かく言うとね、この部品を俺が作ってやったやつとか、例えばエンジン工程で、したら、このエンジンを俺が使って、やっぱ一つの、ステータスやねえけど、やっぱそういうあれはあるね。やっぱそういったんだ。
So, I mean, we focus a lot on pride in the quality that the teams are producing, and there's a lot of quality rankings within inside the organization. And, the teams that are important, that are responsible for delivering that quality have great pride in it. And one of the things that we do outside is we don't interfere with it. We let them do what they have to do, improve the processes, and we don't micromanage them to death, if you will. We let them do what their team has to do to get that quality, and then that gives them a sense of pride that for something they've created, not something that's been imposed on them, and we're consistent with that. We don't stick our nose into their business if the leaders are doing it right. So I think that's important.
So they obviously receive some sort of improvement training. Curious, it's not on the list, but I'm curious what does that entail, and what does that look like? Because again, to me, there's that connection. You don't let a child talk about your children. You don't let them go off and do something that you haven't at least trained them in how to do it. I'm just curious how that works.
やっぱり改善の、ね、トレーニングと研修をかけてると思うんですけど、どういうものを改善のマインドを作り出すとか、改善のやり方とか。
まずはね、基本ね、考え方。トヨタの改善の考え方は、お金をかける。
So the first thing they teach when it comes to Kaizen and the thinking about improvement is first we use our mind, not our wallet. That's the baseline for everything. We see what we can do with what we've got.
で、自分たちでできるやるのは基本。
That's one of the parameters, It's like
Right.
You do it with what you've got. Your ingenuity, the team's ingenuity.
It's interesting when I train myself when I'm doing training. I have 3 golden rules.
Okay.
Golden rule number 1: focus on the customer. Golden rule number 2: Frontline knows best. And golden number 3: creativity over capital.
Yeah,
and that's the heart of when I train. Is that a similar philosophy to?
I think it's identical to what's just happened.
Yeah.
ガリさんはね、いろんな研修の会社の研修とかするけど、やっぱり改善とかのをやるときに、やっぱり知恵を使う。ね、財布じゃなくて知恵を使う。最前線の人たちの意見を入れる。で、みんなをお互いに尊敬して、もうみんなが、出す意見。
そう。だから、社員ね、ワーカーから引き出すこともあるし、で、最初はね、やっぱ会社入ってすぐなんかわかんないからね。何人かおる人たちが中心になって、じゃあこれを改善しましょうかってやるわけ。で、じゃあ、新しく入った人は、それを、もう、ね、手助けだわ。物持ってきた、こういう。その繰り返しずっとやっていく。
But he just explained the way I grew up watching my dad who liked to fix things. And, I wasn't a mechanic and he wasn't a mechanic, but he could fix anything. And all I did was just hold the flashlight, hold the screwdriver, go get this. And he's just saying when they're doing, improvements on the line in Toyota, after production, the people just joined the company. They don't have the skills to do it. So you can't leave it to them. But you can teach them. And it's the leader's job to make sure that they teach them and they learn the skills that they have because they're not going to be there forever. They're moving up and out of there, They have to embed those skills.
で、少しずつね、じゃあ、お前これやってみようとかね、これを作ってみようとかね、少しずつそういうことやって、だんだんこうやって。
And when you feel they're good enough and they'll have success, you leave it to them to try. Hey, you give it a try now. We feel you're ready to give it a try now. And it's not, you make sure that they're set up, they're prepared for that battle. They're not going into a losing battle. They're going to have success because success, it makes you proud, and it makes you want to do more of it.
Right.
大事なのは、やっぱ2つあって、1つはしっかり評価してやることが一つね。
And, evaluating them on their contributions and abilities, honestly, along the way.
で、もう一つは、いろんなアイディアとか、いろんな出てくるじゃない。絶対否定をしちゃうか。
Very important point is he's given the X here.
Okay.
Like, no matter what idea comes out of your team when you're talking about an improvement, and if it's something that's focused on this improvement, you never knock it down. You never say you're crazy or stupid or that's you never come out negative at that.
You build on it.
Well, you build on it, or you think of a polite way to explain why it's not going to work.
Right.
And
それやっちゃうと、上がるし、やらない。
so those people, if that's what happens in an organization, those people won't be willing participants in improvement at all. And in many cases, you've lost them.
Yeah.
そこをやはり直属の上司がしっかり見てやって、例えば、ダメなやつでもね、もう少し、ここをこうすればもっとだけど、良くなるよねというような言い方をしてね。
So, I mean, if you're a manager or something and you notice somebody's giving you like a bad suggestion or something that just doesn't make sense, find a way to complement it, find a way to suggest an improvement of that and like watch them grow through that. I mean, it's your job to make sure that they're a willing participant in the improvement of everything in your company. So you've got to find a way to bring them along for the ride because you can't leave them on the side of the road.
だからそれはね、やっぱ褒めてやる方向にどう思ってるかな。
And it's, you praise people, you build people up through encouragement, then more than anything. So
That's wonderful.
That's important.
All right. I want to honor your time. So I'll ask this kind of my last question. It's not here. I'll think of myself as a continual learner. I'm always looking to grow.
Of course.
I'm curious over the course of Sensei's career, how he's grown, because clearly, you don't get to the level of expertise that he's at without a mindset of growth. So how did that work? How did he go about doing that? What advice would he give to young leaders?
Gary さんね、僕がずっと勉強し続けること、新しいこと、新しい知恵。先生もね、40年近く、仕事してて、それずーっと成長、どうやって自分の成長を、保証できたか。
私自身ね、今でも勉強とは思ってるんだけど、そう勉強した言われあんまりないね。
Because I'm frontline, I was a person that was in the organization, responsible for production. I don't look at it as study. It's more like learning, than he likes putting his face in books and reading is not something he's done a lot of because he hasn't had to.
だから、やっぱいい環境で、やっぱずーっと育ってきたかな。それ一番かな。やっぱ両親に恵まれてたりとかね。
If I have to say it's because of one reason that I was able to do that, it was because of the environment in which I was in. He didn't say this, but it's also the environment he helped create.
Right.
Because it's always changing with the leaders that are in it at the given
だか
time.
ら、よく言うんだけど、上司はね、部下選べれるけど、部下はね、上司選べれないのよ。
So I mean, we can, as leaders, you can choose the people who are working for you in your organization, but the opposite is not necessarily true. The people who are working there, they can't choose the people who are above them in the company. They can choose a different company. That's all they can do.
Right. No.
だから、いい上司にね、巡り合ういうのはすごく、誰でもできるわけじゃないんだけど、すごく大事かな。今そう思う、やっぱ。
That's very important. I don't know if it's fate or if it's destiny. It's very important that you choose the work environment that you're going to spend your career in.
Totally.
And if you see something early on that is, this, if you figure it's not what is best for you and your development, maybe that's not the best place for you. But he was lucky to be in an environment that he always had people pulling him up.
I was at Canada Post where I worked for 38 years. I started on the front line and was able to work my way up because of the mentoring and support that I received. Yeah, so I totally understand.
あとそれと、やっぱ、昨日も少しお話ししたんだよ。自分のいろんな意味で気持ちをどう持つかっていう。それがやっぱ大事だよ。
And it's how as a worker, whether you're a frontline person in operations or somebody up near the top, it's how you think about the work you're doing and
Right.
importantly, the value add that you're giving. And is this the environment that you're being able to give what you want to give, all you can give? You have to think about your position relative to the organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my key pieces of advice to people that I mentor is find the job that fits you. Don't you try to fit the job.
やっぱり現場に合わせることはね、ストレスになるから、よくいろんな人に研修かけるときに、やっぱり自分に合ってる環境が一番いいだから、そういうの見つかるといいよねっていう場合。
Yeah, so I think it aligns.
Yeah.
僕はね、個人の話すると、本読むのが大嫌い。
To tell you a little secret about me, I hate spending time reading books.
Okay, interesting.
Others'
だから
opinions.
一切読まない。
I kind of made it a rule to not influence myself with that too much. Good or bad, that's just a rule I've made.
Okay.
こういう教育、研修とか、一回も受けたことない。
And I've never in my 40-year career attended these kind of development seminars. So these kind of,
Interesting.
things like that, just because it wasn't for me.
Okay, interesting.
なんでこう、やっぱいろいろね、経験をしてやるってことはね、言われたからやるっていうのもあるかもしれないけど、やっぱ本人のね、やっぱ気持ちの持ち方外だと思う。なんでもそうだけど。
And it's for some people and it's not for others. I'm one of the persons that it wasn't kind of for, but I got my value in learning how to work through the seniors above me, the people who were harsh and strict.
Wonderful.
And were very involved in my development.
Wow, amazing.
だから
Amazing.
よく企業にね、入るときに何を気をつけるかというと、成果を出すのは私たちじゃないわけ。この入った企業の方が成果を出す。で、私たちの仕事というのは何かというと、やっぱその企業に入った特に上の層、いかにその気にさせるか。それが一つだ。
Yeah. So, it's, when he, as a consultant, he works with a lot of companies around the world. And it's like the companies take responsibility for their results. When I go in to help them, my job is to help transform them in their thinking so that they become the people who take responsibility for the results and create the environment that enables the attainment of those results. So, and people just sometimes there's a disconnect there. So I've got to help people with that.
だから企業の話ですよね。だからそういう点が、やっぱ当時はうまい。
And he thinks
会社としてね。
pretty good at that.
I bet they are.
Managers take the responsibility for the results.
Yeah.
That's maybe something that's gotten them to where they are.
I believe
だか
that.
ら、その気にさせる。やらざるを得ないとか、やっぱうまいから、だから良くなっていってるんじゃないかな。
So Toyota as an organization is very good at, reminding leaders about their responsibility. Not only their, the authority they've been given, being put in a leadership role, but also the responsibility that comes with it. And making sure that the environment is there for them to achieve, to succeed.
That's amazing. Well, maybe on that we'll end. I do want you to let Sensei know that last night I woke up about 5 or 6 times trying to think of the questions because I knew my time was limited. And I thought, what questions do I, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. How do I?
We can maybe
how do I
do it again
leverage it?
sometime, Gary.
I would like that, but if you would share that, would be wonderful.
これ1回しかない機会だから何聞けばいいかってこれ5、6回ぐらい目が覚めた。Oh, great. But we can make it happen again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I learned a tremendous amount. And one of the things that was the biggest takeaway for me was just how much truth there has always been in the fact that the Toyota production system is a whole lot more than tools. It's about the people, it's about the leadership, it's about the respect that they have for the frontline workers. And I think that that's something that, certainly in North America, we can certainly continue to do better at. Again, thanks. And if you liked it, make sure you give me the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Share this video. I think this, along with all of the other videos that I've been able to produce on this channel, are there for you to learn, grow, and share. We'll do that together, creating CI champions.